He can be, if that screen is on, Mr. Barry can just sit in front of that screen. He'll be able to see everyone, and his voice will get picked up on the microphone.
See everybody on.
Good morning, Mr. Barry.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's.
Mr. Barry, we're going to have a brief conversation, and then I think that's all we're going to be able to do today. You have a probation revocation petition. The allegations in the petition are that you committed 2 new crimes, one in January of last year, burglary in DeKalb, and another in May, some drug-related object allegation here in Fulton County. There are also 2 open cases here in Fulton. One of them may be the one I just mentioned, but either way, the allegations are you committed some new crimes. The state has made a recommendation. Your lawyer for the revocation is Mr. Franklin. Can you see him on the screen there?
Yes, sir.
He needs to be where he is right now for public health reasons. Otherwise, he'd be in here chatting with you. But what he explained to me, and I'll let him speak for himself in just a second, is that given what the state's seeking to do in your case to revoke your probation, it's not something that's going to be negotiated, but there might need to be a full-blown hearing, which is not what we can do today. Okay?
Yes.
Mr. Franklin, anything you want to add about Mr. Barry's situation?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Barry. I apologize for not having been able, and I don't mind telling you this forum. I was exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID, and so I wasn't able to come to the jail because I didn't want to put anyone else at risk. I did speak with the DA, Ms. Hall. You can see her on the screen. She has the ceiling fan in her background. I was asking about whether there was any chance of just having you continued on probation. The response I received was not that the state was looking to revoke some time because you have 2 open cases. Because you are being held in those 2 cases in addition to the revocation. It's my opinion at this point that it would be better to allow for the process to go and see if you get indicted, because you won't get out if we were able to successfully resolve your probation anyway. If you still want me to come visit you as soon as I'm able to safely do so, I'm happy to do that.
Yes.
Okay. So whenever I get kind of the go ahead and I feel that it's safe for me to be around people again, I think it will be sometime next week based on some stuff I've heard thus far. I'll give you a visit and we'll have a more detailed conversation and I'll explain to you everything that you might not understand right now.
Yes.
So Ms. Hall and Ms. Crawford, the petition I have covers 2 alleged sets of offenses, one in DeKalb, which is not why Mr. Barry is in Fulton County Jail, and then a May incident. In looking up one of the 2 CPs, the higher numbered one that ends in 752, there's a whole other set of charges, trafficking in heroin and attempting to purchase a firearm. That is not reflected in the petition. Perhaps we want to revise it so that Mr. Barry has in front of him everything he needs to deal with. I'll leave that up to you, but you should know, Ms. Hall, if you are preparing for a revocation hearing, this second CP case that Mr. Barry has is not at this time a basis for revocation, so it would be improper for you to present any evidence about those more recent charges. They look kind of serious. I don't know which one you're going to want to share, but that's where we are right now. Mr. Franklin, you're going to need a little time before you can get with Mr. Barry. It sounds like Ms. Hall's going to need a little time to decide if she wants to go forward with a revocation hearing or if Mr. Barry's non-bond status, I don't know what his status is with the 2 CP cases, if folks are just going to wait until things get indicted. How much time do you want, Mr. Franklin, before we make sure we bring Mr. Berry back. I don't want him to get lost. We will have a grand juries again, 2 of them, in March. So it's not too far away, but it's also not in the next week or 2. So do you want time to meet with Mr. Berry and then you'll let Ms. Nelson know, or should we get this on a subsequent calendar so at least we've got a placeholder for Mr. Berry?
No, I'll meet with him irrespective to the revocation hearing. My conversation with Ms. Hall, I anticipate that
You froze up on us, Mr. Franklin. We couldn't hear what you said after you said Ms. Hall.
it's not our intention to have the full-blown revocation hearing based on my conversation with Ms. Hall.
Okay. Well, why don't we, Ms. Hall, if we put this on a calendar, maybe 3 or 4 weeks out, does that give you enough time to work with Mr. Franklin on this?
Yeah, and I think what Mr. Franklin is saying that we're going to wait until the cases get indicted and deal with the revocation with the SC cases.
Okay, I didn't follow that. Okay, so again, I don't want to lose track of Mr. Berry, and there's no guarantee that his cases will be the first ones indicted. So maybe we put this on a status calendar, not bringing Mr. Berry over for that in. I mean, a status calendar in February there's no point in that. So I guess what I'm going to do, Mr. Franklin, is have Ms. Nelson put Mr. Berry's probation revocation on a status calendar in mid to late March so that we don't forget about Mr. Berry. If something comes up before then, such that you think we can make progress or advance one or more of his Fulton matters, this 19 SC case or either of the CPs, let Ms. Nelson know, and we'll get Mr. Berry on a calendar sooner than that. Does that make sense?
Understood.
Okay. Does that work for you, Ms. Hall?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Berry, you have any questions about the plan?
No, sir.
Okay, sounds like your next step is Mr. Franklin, when it is safe and wise for him to do so, he will connect with you out at the jail, and that conversation may result in a different plan. And as I said, we'll get you back here as soon as makes sense for you and your lawyer, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So Ms. Hall, what have you heard from your friends in major case? It is time for Mr. Hodges. We can skip over him, but other folks aren't due here till 10.
Yes, Your Honor. So I haven't heard back. I was a little distracted there. I forgot to even check my phone. Can you give me a moment to actually make a phone call?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess you were on this case, but if you'd reach out, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
We're not sure yet.
I'm sorry, Judge, were you reaching out to Mr. Opinion regarding Mr. Hodges?
So Ms. Hall's trying to do that. If you want to do the same.
He sent me an email last week, Judge, and he had a conflict for this morning he was in another courtroom. I had asked him to email me an update, but I don't know if I received that. Let me check my system to make sure.
I was also just told, Your Honor, that it's Brett. So I think I heard the end of what Ms. Nelson said.
Yeah, that Mr. Pinion had told her he had a conflict and was going to be in another courtroom. So we need to get an update from him. I think what we'll do is just sit tight for a minute so that someone can try to ping him and maybe he can provide that update. Mr. Hodges is here, meaning in the courthouse. We've got Mr. Franklin on Zoom, so I think it would be good for Mr. Hodges to hear what's going on. And I'll tell you, Ms. Hall, worst case scenario, we'll let you be the ears and eyes and face of the DA's office. You don't necessarily need to add anything, but I need to hear from Mr. Franklin about where the defense is, at least in the case.
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Franklin, I think Mr. Hodges is your only other matter on. Do you mind just sticking around for a little bit?
Did you want me to give that now? Or did you want me to?
Can you say that again?
My internet connected to my phone. My home internet appears to be choppy this morning with the Zoom.
Yes.
So I just logged in on my phone.
Okay. It sounds better.
Okay, good.
So you mind just sitting tight for a few minutes on Mr. Hodges? I think we'll do some of the plea and arraignment of the next case. And well, I guess you have one of those anyway. So you are here for that. Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't look like, I'm looking at the gallery. I don't see any visitors. I'm not sure if she's showing up yet, but yeah, I will have the person that's on bond.
Okay. Well, why don't we bring at least Mr. Miller out? Yes, Marco Miller. Ms. Snyder, I believe Mr. Miller is now your case. Is that correct?
My understanding from looking at Odyssey is that he retained Steve Friedberg and Mitchell McGow. They filed entry on May 14th. So I believe that I have Mrs. Miller, Shantoria Miller. She was also assigned to my office.
Okay, well, we'll bring Mr. Miller out. He seems to be the only one here on the case and see what he says. Hello, Mr. Miller.
Hello, sir.
I'm Judge McBurney, and your case has been assigned to me. We are trying to work out who your lawyer or lawyers are. We had an entry of appearance made back in May. I'm going to call this up. Just give me 1 second. By Stephen Friedberg. Is that your lawyer?
No, sir.
Do you know Stephen Friedberg?
He a bond hearing officer. I mean,
Okay.
bond hearing lawyer.
Okay, so you retained him, or your family did, or someone did for purposes of
member.
bond?
Yeah, for bond, for him to do bond, but they ain't retain him as no lawyer.
Okay. How about Mitchell McGough? Same thing. That was to help with bond, or?
I don't know who Mitchell McGough is.
Okay. Did you ever meet Mr. Friedberg?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we need to figure this out. Ms. Snyder, your understanding is that you are handling the Shantoria Miller part of this case?
Yes, sir. My office filed entry on her case prior to Mr. Miller. I did attempt to reach out to Mr. Friedberg to see if he was retained just for a limited purpose. So I could go ahead and get the C3 paperwork, but I haven't heard back from him.
Got it.
But
So my calendar lists Travis Foreman as.
He's a part of my office.
Oh, I thought he was a C3. He is with a conflict defense?
He's one of the non-complex attorneys.
Okay.
But
So he may
also
have
takes private cases, so sometimes it's confusing.
Got it. Okay. So you're assigned to Shantoria Miller, who's on bond but didn't show up. Mr. Franklin has Maria Johnson, also on bond but not here. And you, Mr. Miller, we need to get a lawyer assigned to. You don't believe Mr. Friedberg is your lawyer anymore?
No, sir.
Okay. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to have my staff reach out to Mr. Friedberg. He may think he's still your lawyer, and then he and you need to have a conversation. But if he echoes what you said, I was just there to help Mr. Miller with bond and I'm out. One, he needs to get out. And two, we're going to need to get a lawyer appointed to represent you. You cannot be represented by the public defender's office. They represent a co-defendant, And then Ms. Snyder, who you heard talking just a moment ago, she represents the other defendant. Are you related to Shantoria Miller?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, Ms. Snyder represents Ms. Miller, so we need to get you a lawyer. Are you planning on hiring one, or would you like one appointed?
I like one appointed, sir.
Okay, well, we will take care of that as soon as we can. What we were going to do today, we really shouldn't, because you don't have a lawyer representing you. It was plea and arraignment, and that's when you're informed of the charges, if you don't already know what you've been charged with, and you enter an initial plea of not guilty, or if you've already worked the case out, you enter a plea of guilty. But we're going to wait till you've had a chance to talk with the lawyer who's going to guide you through the whole process.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about what's going on?
All I know, they told me I had a lawyer from Metro Confidence Attorney.
That's what I thought.
And I've been calling. I think I called, left her a message, and she never returned the call.
Okay. Well, it gets complicated when there are cases with 3 or more defendants. If it's 1, usually a public defender handles that if it's appointed counsel. If it's 2, we've got public defender and what you just said, Metro Conflict Defender. Your case has 3. And so one person gets what's called a C3 or appointed counsel, who's a great defense attorney, just doesn't work for the PD's office or for the Metro Conflict Defender.
Okay, like a pro bono lawyer.
They're all pro bono, all of those categories, but you're right. They get paid by the state, but they are helping out. But they would be exclusively focused on your case and not Ms. Miller's or Ms. Johnson's. And more importantly, not a colleague of one of the lawyers on the other case, because it may be that your situation is in tension or conflict with one of the co-defendants.
Okay.
So we got to get you an independent lawyer who's focused on your case. We will take care of that, and we'll get you back here for plea and arraignment so we can get things moving. I know you've been in for a while. It's not a new case. It's a very new indictment, but it's not a new case.
Ain't no possibility of me getting a bond today or anything?
Not today, but that's the conversation you're going to want to have, I know, with your lawyer when we figure out who is it, because you're going to say it's time to have that discussion. And that lawyer will give you his or her thoughts about the wisdom of doing it, and then we'll have a bond hearing. That's not a problem doing it, but you need that advocate.
Yeah, because I had Terrell Dark, then they pointed me into a new lawyer, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that was part of working through like first appearance when you first hit the jail. But we'll work through all that and get someone appointed. Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll get you back here for a bond hearing, plea and arraignment. We can do those at the same time. That'll be something to talk to the lawyer about. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Can you go past it there?
So, Ms. Snyder, real quickly on Shantoria Miller, Ms. Nelson has reminded me that this was a notice calendar. Have you had any contact with Ms. Miller?
I have not. I was just allowed back into my office yesterday.
She's here. Are you Shantoria Miller? She's here. Is one of you Maria Johnson? Maria Johnson's here as well. Fantastic.
If you could get a phone number for me, there's not one on Odyssey.
We'll do that. In fact, what I may do is have Ms. Miller give you a call right now so we can do the plea and arraignment, but you two should talk first. Okay. So do you have a phone, ma'am, Ms. Miller? Do you have a phone with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Snyder, would you like to get Ms. Miller's number, or do you want me to give her a number to call?
She can call me. That's fine.
Okay. What number should I give her?
404-795-2487.
795-2487?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Miller, that's the phone number for Ms. Snyder, who's your lawyer in this case. If you call her right now and then come back in here when you're done talking, we can take care of what you need to today, all right?
Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Franklin, we've got Ms. Johnson here as well. Can I have her call you and you can have a similar conversation?
Yes, if Ms. Patel is, I think I still see Ms. Patel in the courtroom. Ms. Patel can give her my cell phone number.
Fantastic. I'll have Ms. Patel give that to Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson, you're going to get a phone number from Ms. Patel, who's a colleague of your lawyer. If you would call, Mr. Franklin is your lawyer. If you would go outside and call him, when you two are done talking, come back in, please. Great. So, Mr. Franklin, you'll get a call in a second, and we will stand down until either Ms. Miller or Ms. Johnson comes back. And I'm going to see what I've been getting some info about Mr. Pinion and Hodges. So we'll circle back on that in a minute.
Okay.
Thanks. So is Mr. Black not going to come up today?
No,
Okay.
he's medical situation.
That's fine. I just wanted, you don't need to go into details. So he won't be up here today. All right. Is it the kind of thing where he could come back in a week, or he's not going to be?
We can just reset it in 1 week.
Okay, it may be more than that, but it's not a permanent situation.
You should not be permanent.
Okay.
I only only judge off what they tell me.
Yep. You're not the medical people. When oh, and then he didn't like the offer, and he didn't like the sentence.
He wanted time to think.
Yeah.
Yep. Transcript is even.
You mentioned that. Yeah.
He is, I think he was there for the first 75 days.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So then it would have been, he said, I understand the sentence, Judge. I'm not sure if I want it. And
I made a mistake because when I filed it in Mr. Hill, I also filed it in Mr. Campbell. Realized afterwards. That's technically.
I just think there'll be a second transcript from today. All his answers were under oath. And
If he doesn't.
yeah.
We might need to pull that out. Even though the transcript, it's obvious that you want to leave now.
Yeah.
You come back and tell us what you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna tell you a little bit of when I seen him lay out like that. He was trying to hold him standing there today. What's your name? Like, see if you can cover him. He opened the door. What's my name? This okay. You got it, huh? I mean, I ain't got to fight.
Your Honor.
Ms. Hall?
Hi.
Hey.
I have an announcement for the Hodge case whenever we get back around to all that.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
Some of them are the, you can tell them.
They've been waiting.
Hungry. You can tell them are ready.
Yeah, waiting to get it on the TV.
You see what they have problems. Down the whole.
They've been crazy. They ain't gonna lie, man. I got to
Some years, bro, trying to do this. Well, what I do, man, you meet some people, man, you go and at it, bro. Every time I know that, man, it's like you almost get on the zone when you can't even miss a shot.
Yeah.
And you think like, damn,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it is working.
Yes, it is.
It's just clicking, but it comes from working so hard. And again, like me, I want to go to work real hard. Like, I think that's really key to all of this success, though. Like, when it comes to but again, it's supposed to be easy. But the hard part is that Friday. You the last is gone. Like, oh, what you trying to do, John?
I got a humble right now. Still playing ball.
He play overseas, though.
Yeah, he's from town.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, they grow up.
They go.
They don't go to high school like that. Like most of them be older when you find this college.
Right.
So he told me, he was like, he was on the fellowship.
Right.
He said, they be like, oh, school was key. Was like, he was like, I trained my body.
And that's true. What you that's so true. When I changed up, and I'm telling you, bro, you have energy. I'm telling you, as you get older, this is what you need to is.
That's what it is. I follow him now.
They keep rapping on. It's crazy.
Almost 50 years old.
What we put in, we it's extra. For what? Yeah, I said that when you sit down.
Yeah.
But the Lord talks to you. Let you know. You don't want to run yourself into the.
Two girls.
That's crazy.
She obedient, he probably doing what he do.
Oh, you already know. But I ain't tell you something. I'm just telling you. I know how.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right when
saying?
you need
You fly back in.
it. Like I really want to be right now.
Man, come on now, G. G said everything.
That's what I'm saying. Married is sick.
You know, let all the G code.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Now
why
I'm
you
like,
say
yeah, it's found the woman. Circle
that
all
circle.
up.
Come on now.
And I
Hey,
told him, I said, y'all need to
gotta get out your city. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, they come.
It's always
Yes,
like
it is.
that. Oh my God.
I know. That's what I told Miller and Gordon, I said, y'all never said.
Man.
Gordon was like, oh, I know.
Man.
Ridiculous.
Gee.
I know.
Man, you
I ain't even got to go back to the West and see.
It's becoming crazy.
I was admiring the curtains. Ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I ain't even gonna lie. I think that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing. So you can go that straight line and you don't do like, man.
All right, I can't see who came back. Is it Ms. Johnson or Ms. Miller?
Miller.
Ms. Miller, great, thank you for coming back. Ms. Snyder, are you ready to join us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Ms. Miller, I'm Judge McBurney. It's nice meeting you. I'm glad you're well, she can stay right there. Well, actually, why don't you come on up to the chair that's sort of facing you, because that way Ms. Snyder can see you and hear you better. Thank you so much. Great. So I'm Judge McBurney. Your case has been assigned to me. And today is the day for what we call your arraignment, where if you want, I can read the formal charges against you, but you and Ms. Snyder have talked about that. So I'm going to ask Ms. Snyder what the plan is. And then if you've got any questions, you're free to ask them. Ms. Snyder, what are we doing today in Ms. Miller's case?
We are going to waive formal arraignment and sign up not guilty and move forward.
Okay, I'll let you and Ms. Nelson work through the waiver of arraignment form. We've got one, it's sitting here in the courtroom, but I bet she could email you one as well that you could execute, but we'll want to get that in the docket.
If it hasn't changed from the one we had last year, I've got a digital copy and I just filled it out. I just need a change of address form. If she can email me that.
Okay, great. The forms have not changed, so you've got the right one. And Ms. Nelson, if you could get a change of address form to Ms.
I'll email that to Ms. Snyder. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
Great. That change of address form will make sure, Ms. Miller, that we've got the correct address for you in the system. Apparently, we've got an old one for you.
Yes.
And the way you're going to know to come to court is stuff will come in the mail to whatever address you tell us. So if you move again, that's okay, but you better let Ms. Snyder know so she can get the court system updated.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
You bet. So Ms. Snyder, what this means is that a scheduling order will issue, and that'll have the deadlines for discovery and motions and all that in Ms. Miller's matter. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Anything else from the defense in Ms. Miller's case?
Ms. Hall, if you would just email me the body cam. I saw that it was served, but I think it might have gone to Mr. Foreman.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Hall, anything else in Ms. Miller's case?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Miller, do you have any questions?
No.
You now know how to reach Ms. Snyder?
Yes, sir.
Great. If you've got questions about your case, just call her, and she has good contact information for you.
Okay.
Good. She'll let you know what's going on, and you guys can discuss. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All
Have
right.
a good day.
You too. Ms. Snyder, the next thing we're going to do is hear back from Mr. Franklin on Ms. Johnson. But while we're waiting for that, one, an update. You, I believe, have position 6, which is Alfonso Black. Hopefully that's not news to you.
No, I got the conflict form.
Okay. Mr. Black is here in the courthouse, but he's not able to come upstairs. So we're going to need to reset that.
Okay.
And if you and he are able to connect and he wants to waive arraignment, we don't need to bring him over here, but I'm happy to do that. In general, if a new client wants to waive arraignment and you would prefer not to bring the client over if the client's in custody, that's okay. But sometimes folks just like to, hey, here's the judge, here's the client, and make that connection. But we don't need to needlessly bring folks over if it's simply to say you're waiving arraignment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do for now is reset this for a few weeks to get Mr. Black back here when he's in a condition to come on upstairs. But right now he's not.
Sir.
And then the other question I had is, you've got the final position. It's not for a few more minutes, but that's Mr. Campbell. He is here. Do you know what the plan is, or do you need to have a conversation with him?
I was going to ask for a few more days on that because I was just allowed back into the office yesterday. I haven't had a chance to speak to him since the last time we were in court.
So I don't have an issue with that. We'll need to wait for Ms. McCauley to join us. I know that there was a little bit of time sensitivity to the offer.
Right.
Because Ms. McCauley will get pulled in different directions. But we'll wait till 10:30. We'll get Mr. Campbell out here and we can have that logistical discussion. I'm okay with it. It's really a question of how the state's going to handle it.
And I did let Ms. McCauley know that I was going to ask for a few more days. I don't think it needs to be long.
Okay.
Definitely before the 18th. I just need a chance to speak to him.
And can you refresh my recollection? Did Mr. Campbell get all the way through the plea colloquy, but then needed time to think about the sentence that I was going to impose, or did it break down even before that?
We got all the way to the end. And then after you told him the sentence that you were anticipating giving, he wasn't sure whether he wanted to withdraw. He wanted some time to think about it and some time to talk to me. But unfortunately, I got sick and haven't had a chance to speak to him at any length.
Got it. Okay. Well, it's a fair request. I suspect Ms. McCauley won't have an issue with it other than the timing, but we'll wait to hear from her.
Yes.
All right. Let's see if we can track down Mr. Franklin. He. Keep forgetting to turn on the video. Is there a new chief adjutor yet? Has that person been designated or it's all temporary?
We have new people. It's not John, what's the other guy's name? I don't know, it ain't.
Oh, someone told me it's from ACDC.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
But it's all folks who were at the city jail.
The guy that's up there, yeah.
Yeah.
But we have Johnson with us.
Okay.
But you said the new chief that's gonna be at the jail, or?
Yeah. Adjutor was, as I understand, his title was chief.
Adjutor was at the jail.
Yeah.
But the chief here is Johnson.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, he was the marshal and he's here, but I was wondering who was running the jail.
I don't know who that
Okay, I don't know his name, but he was talking to Major Mayo about coming over. I don't know his name.
But I think his background is the city jail.
I think it is.
Okay. But are some of the, like Singleton still there? I mean, do we know?
I'm not sure. I think Singleton's there, Major Cochran is done, he's retired. And I'm not sure about.
Moffett is still here. And then is Jones still the head of transport or you don't know?
Yeah, I saw him, but I'm not sure if he's still, he's still, okay.
I think so.
Because I saw him at our swearing on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what role he's actually taking.
Yeah, I know it's all in flux.
Yes, we have not gotten a written document where everybody's going. Some people got moved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that way with your team. It's that way with the DA's office too.
We're excited to see what's going on.
It'd be nice to fast forward. We were talking about this about 3 months just to get to a more stable place. Everyone knows where they're going, what's going on. Maybe we've all gotten a couple shots in our arm.
You got a shot there?
No, I'm in line behind you guys.
Hopefully you gotta go first.
I'd love to.
I
But
give y'all 6 months or whatever, but I see anything, I'll be ready.
then that second head starts to grow out of my shoulder. No, we were told that court employees will be treated as frontline workers so that when the county starts pushing it out to you all, that we could be in that group over at Mercedes-Benz. Okay. Well, we haven't been given a chance to sign up yet because.
Yesterday for the ones who reached out, I guess, and signed up and wanted it.
Yeah.
And then they were given an opportunity. If you did not sign up, but you did want it, you could do it.
Yeah.
That was yesterday. I don't know what might have changed after that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We were kicking around the idea as both a safety step, but as an inducement to say to potential jurors, you can get the vaccine. If you get a summons to say, come on down to serve, we'll get you a vaccine. That might scare some people away, but it might help folks feel more comfortable about coming down. Not only do we wash the courtrooms and the deputies wear masks, we'll get you your vaccine. Because for a lot of jurors, they're going to be, if you're 25 years old, you are at the back of the line if you're healthy. But if coming down to serve as a juror, you're putting yourself on the front line in a sense by being in a courtroom setting. I don't know if we can pull that off though. Has some, it does, but it has some legal issues. So you know, when I told the county attorney, people are like, oh, I don't know.
Pushing our buttons already. You have to try it.
Yeah.
Some of mama, wait for her, she got her DNA, so 6 months to a year, she's still here. I was like, I hate to.
A true guinea pig, because it's right, it's the same stuff.
You know, like I'll let them go in and then after the months pass, then.
Yeah, all right. I gotta see my mom in action. She wants it though. She's 65, she's got one.
Good morning, Ms. McCauley.
Hi.
Hi. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I bet you're happy that more ADAs have been sworn in now.
I am very happy. I'm very happy indeed.
Good. I think what we may do, we're waiting on Mr. Franklin. He is on the phone with a client. And so if you're ready, we've got Ms. Snyder. We could bring Mr. Campbell out here. My understanding is that Ms. Snyder is going to ask for a few more days and that she's talked to you about that. I just want to.
Yeah. Ms. Snyder was very clear. We corresponded via email. I think it was a couple of days ago about the status of the case and that she needed a couple more days due to COVID. So I have no problem with that. It's fine.
Okay. Well, we can talk about logistics in a minute. Why don't we, can you all bring Mr. Campbell out? I think we can handle his case a few minutes early. Yes, please. Good morning, Mr. Campbell.
Morning.
How you doing?
All right.
Good. Good to see you. So your lawyer, Ms. Snyder, is on the screen in front of you. The prosecutor, Ms. McCauley, who you met last time you were here, is on the screen as well. I chatted with them real briefly about your situation just to get an update, and we're going to now talk as a group. But as I understand it, well, here's where we left off. You had entered a plea, said I did these things. I had shared with you what I expected the sentence would be, and you understandably said you wanted a little time to think about it because it wasn't a small sentence. It was a big sentence. Part of thinking about it is having a conversation with your lawyer, but your lawyer got sick during the break and is actually on her first day back in the office. So she has asked if you and she could have a little more time so you could connect and talk about the situation. What is the wisdom of entering the plea and sticking with it? What is the wisdom of backing out and instead going to trial? Because you still have that option. I need to hear from your lawyer while you're listening, and then from Ms. McCauley, the prosecutor, to see if that's the plan, that we're going to wait a few days or what the situation is, okay? And if you've got any questions of me, we can talk about that. But mostly, Ms. Snyder wants a chance to get directly with you to talk about the situation. She's not been ignoring you. She's been sick and not allowed to meet with folks, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Snyder, why don't you make clear again what it is you're trying to do?
Yes, sir. We did go all the way through the plea, and then when it came down to sentencing, Mr. Campbell wanted some more time to think about it and time to discuss it with me. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that. So we are asking for just a few more days before Ms. McCauley gets taken from us so I can have that conversation with him.
So here's the tricky part, and then I'll hear from Ms. McCauley. I'm remembering that her availability only extended through something like the 18th, which is next Monday. I don't think I can bring inmates over until the 19th because I only get to have inmates here on Tuesdays. So if it was going to be an in-person conclusion, then that might get logistically complicated. If it is Zoom, I don't even know when our next Zoom jail calendar is, because those don't move on the same frequency of every Tuesday. I'm okay with it, but we certainly need Ms. McCauley in the mix, given the sprawl of the allegations and her familiarity with them. I think that's just the cleanest way to reach a resolution. If it's going to be a plea, obviously, if it's a trial, a new lawyer can come in and pick it up when we could get a jury in here. Ms. McCauley, what are your thoughts?
Yes, just so my availability should be actually got extended this morning. I can continue waiting on the ultimate decision by the defendant for some time, a couple weeks, if it's just going to require a court appearance or a Zoom court appearance, whatever the court's pleasure is. And then I can obviously pass off the case to ADA Hall if it should go to trial, which will probably be the plan ultimately, to deal with the last and remaining co-defendant as well. And I think Ms. Hall is prepared for that. So that is not as big of an issue as just making sure that there is sufficient time for the defendant to discuss the case with his attorney and have that important conversation. So it's fine.
Okay. So Ms. Snyder, that's good news from Ms. McCauley. If you would like the remainder of the proceedings to be in person for Mr. Campbell, then it needs to be a Tuesday. And my thought is it ought to be either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after. I don't want to extend this too long. Mr. Hill has taken his medicine, entered his plea, accepted his sentence, and he's moving along. We're going to catch up with Ms. Phillips soon enough. It's time for Mr. Campbell to sort out, I want to resolve it or I want to go to trial, but he certainly needs a chance to speak with you. Is 1 week too soon, and so we should do 2, or what's your preference?
Judge, I'm actually going to chime in. We will actually not be in the building next week. We are not permitted to come in next week.
Oh, okay. Is something happening?
I sent you an email about it, just so you know why. But
okay.
I'll send you and some of the other judges an email just so you guys are aware. But yeah, so 2 weeks might work better.
It sounds like it would. Any objection to pushing it 2 weeks out, Ms. Snyder?
No, sir, that's fine.
So that gets us to the 26th. Let me make sure. Okay, we've got some calendars there, but I'm going to rely on Ms. Nelson's magic powers to figure out if we can get Mr. Campbell in on the 26th. And Ms. Nelson, it may be that I need to reach out to colleagues who also have inmates coming over because they may have some capacity for us to bring one more. And she's looking into that. Okay. Mr. Campbell, did you follow what we were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Snyder's going to figure out a way to connect with you so you guys can have the important conversation you need to. And I guess if you and she reach a real clear understanding, and for example, I don't want to take a plea, she can let us know that. We don't need to bring you back here for that. We might just get you on a screen to tell us that. But if you are going to stick with the plea, I think it makes sense for you to be here and Ms. Snyder to be here so we can talk through all the mechanics of it. So we will aim for having everyone back here on the 26th. If for some reason we can't make that happen logistically from the court side, we'll let everyone know, but we will push hard to make that happen. Ms. Snyder, is there anything else you need other than time in the Campbell matter?
No, sir.
All right. And Ms. McCauley, you believe you'll be allowed back in the building the last week of January?
Yes.
Okay, great. Mr. Campbell, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, you and Ms. Snyder will connect and we will see you 2 weeks from today.
That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, you may. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. McCauley.
Thanks, Judge. See you later.
Mr. Franklin, did you get a chance to speak with Ms. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, if you could come up to the chair at the edge there with the screen in front of it, so Mr. Franklin can see and hear you, that would be great. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Judge McBurney. Your case has been assigned to me, and today is your plea and arraignment day. That's when I'm going to hear from your lawyer in just a minute if you need me to read the indictment to you, if you're entering a plea of not guilty, and where we're going next with the case. Did you get enough time to speak with Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
And you gave him all your contact information so he can find you in the future?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for doing that. Mr. Franklin, what are we doing with Ms. Johnson's case?
We're waiving arraignment, and we can get on a scheduling order. Ms. Patel just did the paperwork, I believe, on my behalf.
Okay, great. Ms. Patel do we need a change of address form, or we've got a good address?
We have a good address.
Fantastic. So I will get the waiver of arraignment from Ms. Patel, and I'll scan that, and Ms. Nelson will get it filed. You will get it. Thank you. You will get a scheduling order, Mr. Franklin, and we will see that this case moves along. Ms. Hall, anything from the state as to Ms. Johnson's case?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Franklin, anything? Yeah, he's either passed out or frozen. His screen, he's having internet issues at his house, Ms. Johnson. He will be in touch with you. He's going to get a scheduling order. He'll start to get discovery in the case, and he'll share that with you. Whatever evidence the state is sharing with him, he'll want to share with you. You should call him if you have any questions. You'll get notice from us, meaning the court, something in the mail at your address when you next need to come to court.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So that leaves Mr. Hodges. And I think Ms. Hall has an update. Why don't you share that real briefly, then we'll bring Mr. Hodges out here and he can hear it and we can get an update. But why don't we just bring Mr. Hodges out and we'll talk about his case.
Yes, Your Honor. The state's announcement is that we are not aware of any motions and that there are no discovery issues.
The state always thinks there are no discovery issues. How's that case going with those guys who crashed the van and the guy broke his leg? I know it's your favorite case. You got any more discovery in that?
Nope, we have discovery issues. Ms. McCauley was supposed to pick up the information on last Friday, but I'm not sure of that.
All right. Well, that's not on the calendar today, so don't worry about it. But it will be soon.
I know.
Good morning, Mr. Hodges.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing fine.
Mr. Hodges, your lawyer, Mr. Franklin, is on the screen in front of you, and we've got someone from the DA's office. I brought you over here just so we could get an update. You know, last time we talked, I wanted to make sure your case was moving along. You've been in jail for a minute, and your case is super old. I mean, these are allegations from many, many years ago. So this was just to get an update. Ms. Hall, who's not probably going to be the prosecutor on your case, but she works with the DA's office, does have an update. Ms. Hall, what's the update for Mr. Hodges?
Your Honor, the state is not aware of any filed motions or any discovery issues in this case.
Okay. I know there was some discovery that Mr. Pinion had given to Mr. Franklin in October, and we brought everyone together today to see if there was anything else that needed to be done before we could put Mr. Hodges' case on a final plea calendar. Mr. Franklin, what's your view?
Yeah, so I don't believe there to be any more discovery issues that I'm aware of. The issue before was the actually receiving the physical lineup, which we did receive mid-October. Reviewing that, and getting it thrown off yesterday. because of the COVID situation. Mr. Hodge, I was planning an update before today, but I was exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID, and I wasn't able to visit you as I had planned. Additionally, I was not able to go to the office to finish writing the motion to suppress, but there will be a motion to suppress the 6-pack identification of Kristen Canada. I had also made mention previously of a motion in limine, also directed at Ms. Canada's identification, given the length between the incident date and the date of her identification. So those would be two motions that go towards the same thing, and I believe we would be able to hold at the same time.
Okay. I know you are operating with some logistical obstacles right now. When do you think you could get the motion filed? You may want to go back to your phone. Mr. Franklin's had some internet connectivity issues from home, and so you're seeing how it's been today.
Uh-huh.
You back, Mr. Franklin? He dropped off. So we're going to wait for Mr. Franklin to connect again. But Mr. Hodges, it sounds like he is planning on filing a motion to suppress an identification that someone made in this case. That means we'll have a hearing. You have a right to be here for the hearing. You and Mr. Franklin will talk about that. The state would need to produce some witness or witnesses to talk about how this identification was made. And then I'll enter an order ruling on whether the state can use the identification at trial or not. But you're entitled to know that answer before you have to decide, do I want to work this case out or do I want to go to trial? So what we will do next is get you back here for the hearing on that motion to suppress. I just need to hear from Mr. Franklin how much time he needs to finish that up, and then we can set a date so we make sure we're moving this along. Okay?
Actually, only a couple of days. I would have been done yesterday had I actually been able to get into the office. I tried to remote in from this computer to my office computer to finish what I had started. But as you can tell with my internet connection right now, my connection to my work computer was scattered as well. So I was able to do a little bit at a time, and then it would freeze up. So if the internet cooperates today, I'll be done with it by the end of today. But I guess to be safe, could I just have till Friday?
Sure. No, you can have as much time as you want. I'm not trying to rush you given the situation you're in. And really what I'm thinking about is what's a good date to set the hearing down. We know you're going to do the motion. We don't know who the lawyer is who will be opposing the motion. It's not going to be Mr. Pinion. So I need to build in a little time for that person to be designated. But I'd like to agree. Well, I'll work with Ms. Nelson on that. But what I'd like to do is have a calendar pop up pretty soon that is the date for the motion to be argued. And it doesn't sound like you're finishing the motion is going to be the rate determining step. You'll get it done by the end of the week. So if we're going to have a hearing on it, I'm just pulling a date out of thin air in mid-February. You're going to be done with the motion well before then. The state would have a chance to process it, figure out which witnesses they need, and be ready to go forward with it. So I think that's what we'll aim to do. Now, you mentioned a motion in limine as well. You can certainly argue it then. My guess is it's all wrapped up in one. You'll argue there were issues with the way in which the identification procedure occurred. And then even if I find that it was okay, I guess this is your in limine piece, is so much time passed from the alleged incident and the identification. It's just inherently unreliable, even if the police did a perfect job with the 6-pack.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'll be ready to hear all that when we get a sense that the state will have a lawyer in place to do what the state needs to do. And once that's ruled on, it sounds like we can get Mr. Hodges on a final plea / trial track.
Yes, sir. The one thing I will add that may be a bit of a hurdle for the state, the witness in question for the identification resides in Illinois.
Okay.
So I know that that's something that would bring to your attention and should probably factor into whatever date you and Ms. Nelson decide upon.
Okay. Got it. Ms. Hall, you're not committing anyone to anything. We'll work through the scheduling, and it could fall on your shoulders. I've heard conflicting stories as to what's happening with the major cases. Anything you want to add from the state as to Mr. Hodges' case?
No, Your Honor, I'll update major case.
Okay, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hodges, any questions?
I remember last time I was here, it was a motion. I probably came for a motion. The DA.
Yeah, we have the results, and I'll discuss that with you when I come see you.
Okay. That's the only question.
Yeah. Okay. So Mr. Frank will update you on everything, and you heard. Hopefully, you heard him. I know his internet was going in and out. He had every intention of connecting with you before today,
I heard.
but he can't. You know, he's being smart by staying safe where he is, keeping you safe, keeping him safe.
Good.
So he'll get with you soon, well before we have our hearing on the motion he's going to file. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you then.
Yeah. As soon as I'm clear to come out, Jerry, I'll be up there. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Take it easy. Take it easy. Good.